Yes, thank you very much for joining us again, TSJ TV, hashtag Sideline View. Plenty to look into this week because we did see the conclusion of the Test series between South Africa and Bangladesh. We then saw the Rugby Championship coming to its conclusion. South Africa putting up a fight against New Zealand, and Bafana Bafana managing a win, something which is very rare. So Bafana Bafana, obviously our national team, soccer team, putting 3-1 past Burkina Faso in their World Cup Qualifier for Russia 2018. But Vaniso Trako again and Lunga Kopiso looking into the Springboks, looking into the Proteas, and as to all the questions that were posed before the series started, answered now, and obviously looking forward as to what can we expect in terms of the end of the year tour when it comes to the Springboks, and that big series between South Africa and India and Australia next year. But yeah, stay tuned. Yeah. Trako, you know it's a pleasure. Yeah. Yes, man, yes. What the promise time? Yeah. City Ngola okanye
Ngola. Veleli Ngola. Remember that as the administrator at the SAR. Veleli Ngola. See.
And that as well. And that?
Yeah, what?
How and that? Wherever you are, I picked up we have viewers in Canada as well. Thank you very much for tuning in from time to time. Trako, this weekend Bangladesh tried again in 2.5 days against South Africa. The Springboks put up a fight against the All Blacks, much expected fight against the All Blacks after what happened in Albany. Difuna Skali Albany because you were there, and obviously the expectation heading to Albany was for the Springboks to put up a fight. Was what we saw yesterday on Saturday a fight, or is it now the Boks are back?
It was a classic case of a South African team being up against the wall. There's nothing that fires up South African teams more than being written off. The Boks, ahead of the Albany Test match, were topped up. They've got the hiding of their lives. They had their backs against the wall. They drew twice against Australia. They drew again. They're supposed to win against Australia. So the odds were stacked against them. And there's nothing that fires up a South African team more. Same with Bafana. Bafana were written off. I mean, yeah. I was at FNB Stadium on Saturday. I mean, literally, the fact that there weren't any fans there. There were like fans, but not the 21,000 that Stadium SA CEO Jacques Robler was talking about. But the fact that they were up against the wall. Now that Bafana are once South African teams, I think in general, when they're expected to perform, they're flat to deceive. But when they have nothing to prove, when they have everything to lose, everything to gain and nothing to lose, that's when they pretty much clean out.
I think it's one of those South African attributes that we all have, which is intrinsic to us, which is a never say die attitude. And credit to Bafana, because during the week everybody was talking about the tickets not going off the shelves quite quick enough, or the lack of tickets being bought up until 2 days before the Bafana game against Burkina Faso, and it being a World Cup qualifier. What happens if they do qualify? Do you think they'll get much support as much as they did in 2010? Because I feel that was the last time they actually had the country behind them.
Well, look, the last time Bafana qualified for a World Cup was in 2002. I was still in grade 8. I was 14. You see, so let's start right there. They didn't qualify for 2006. So Bafana haven't qualified for a World Cup since that Korea-Japan one. So I think the fact that if they do qualify, and remember that the fate's now in their own hands, they just need to beat Senegal home and away to ensure that that result is happening.
No permutations.
No permutations, straightforward. They just need to...
No permutations. Bafana needs to win against
Senegal home and away.
There we go.
Straightforward.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Why can't they do it?
Well, it's Bafana we're talking about. I mean, I was reading Mark Stradum's match report.
Jeez, I haven't seen Mark in a while.
Look, he does a lot of desk work now, but he still does match work. Look, he's he compared Bafana to chameleons, and I think that is the best way you could say Bafana, because we expected Bafana to beat Cape Verde. We went to Praia, lost 2-1. They beat us in Durban. So you can never know which shell of Bafana will rock up for each day. No one expected Bafana to rock up on that stadium and actually cup the Stallions out of Nazareth. But it happened.
Did you expect to see 3 impies on Saturday? Impies are a warrior, isn't it?
Yeah.
An impy is a Zulu warrior, in fact. That came out at Newlands before the Springboks. I usually see one, but there were 3 on Saturday, and one of them could have been a front ranker for Alistair Coetzee.
Let's just say that was some sort of psychological ploy to try and shake up in New Zealanders. Unfortunately, a certain Damien McKenzie happened with such a magical try that could have been prevented if Andre Pollard again made a key tackle. He missed, he missed that tackle on David Harvey Lee. Remember that he missed a similar tackle on Anton Leonard-Brown that led to see Lima Saboago's try. So a lot of people are talking up Andre Pollard as an alternative to Elton Jantjies. They're 2 different players, let's be honest. But I think a lot of people are talking about, often harp on, about Elton Jantjies' defensive issues. I think at some point we need to start talking about the key tackles. Not the tackles that he makes during the game, but the key tackles that Pollard has missed against All Blacks and what they've amounted to. I mean, in the context of the Albany annihilation, I mean, the game had already gone by then. But the tackle he missed on Harvey led to Mackenzie's try because it then allowed Harvey the space to shift wider and offload for Mackenzie to exploit the zone, because there were 2 mismatches. It was up against the front ranker and the loose forward. He was able to exploit the space and go. Similar to what Upland would do.
Speaking of other people and other options that we do have in the country, do you think we would have been better off having picked a Cohen Bosch in this Rugby Championship, considering that Andre Pollard hasn't played since 2015?
You know, Bosch is a special talent, but I think he needs to man up on defense. I mean, when you play at test level, there is an expectation that regardless of whether you're fluff or not, you can't be flaky with it, you can't grab managers. That's not on. That's not on. You need to put the shoulder in.
Then what warranted his selection? Why?
He was brilliant. He was. I mean, look. I think
at the back of what? At the back of what?
I think with Pollard, it's a coach's selection. You always get those coaches who pick a player regardless of what they do. I mean, someone someone had raised on Twitter that, why is TK Tawera Kerbalo being picked, yet he's going off to Europe? Yet the same with Aaron Cruden is in the same case where he's not being picked for the All Blacks, yet it's also off to Europe. So I find that coaches do have certain players they lean to. I mean, Pollard has been touted as the future of South African rugby. The problem is, now we're looking at the present. Elton Jantjies, for some reason, had 2 different games. He had a different game when he came off, before he came off. Then when he came on, suddenly we saw the Elton that we saw at the Lions.
Let's start, Struggle, because I want to get into that. Because we've got an issue in the country, an issue that for a better part of the late 2000s and the early post-2010, where we had Farid Dupriya at number 9, and everything that he touched, everything that he controlled was with assurance, humble guy on the field. Everything was calculated with him and how he played rugby. I just feel right now we're chopping and changing with one row amongst 3 players, and we just can't find that one scrum off that all the others, well, the 2 that will be remaining, can then sort of find or fight for a pecking order that would exist if we went with one of them consistently.
I think also we need to be realistic as rugby supporters that once in a while you'll get a world-class scrum off. And in the intervening period, you'll have to make do with what's available. Remember that before we got to Farid Dupriya and an able deputy in Ricky January, we had
Pienaar also played.
You see, Ron Pienaar, an example. Like, so we had 3 reasonably, you had 2 reasonably good scrum offs and 1 world-class scrum off. But you went through Norman Jordan. I mean, we had Neil de Kock. So remember that you always have, I mean, New Zealand, even when remember that they had Justin Marshall and Byron Kelly. But before they stumbled upon Aaron Smith, Perry Weepu, Jimmy Cowan, Steve Divine, Andy Ellis, all of them were good, but none of them compared to Aaron Smith. Smith is cut above the rest.
What separates, because yes, we're going to speak of the fact, which is obvious, that when he passes his ball, Aaron Smith, it's lateral or across him, not behind him, across him. Trouble, what I see, nobana go Ugat, nobana go Cronier, nobana go Page, nobana go Banomnya Mlibele, ukona uDiklak.
Yeah.
uDick ngizamkhupha ke ngezinye imini ngoba yakhe ibhola ikhe ibhabhe uyofika kwa-Elton. Ubhabha kwayo kungona u-Elton simbona naye iqabela ngapha kwe-advantage line. Andiwazi nalo mbhoxo mhlawumbi nawe uyawuthuka kuloo ndawo uyobukela kuba kutheni ibhola izawuqala ibuyimva ingaqinisi iqala. Ngoba indlela elula ubheka phambili ukuqala usebenzele umhlaba wakho ungaqala utye kwakuwo.
Kaloku uzukhumbule uBolden Barrett wayebeka lula lena wathi isizathu ukuba uSmith eyona asona scrum afisibalasele elizweni uyaphaka.
Uphaka. Yaphaka. Ngathi ngaba baphaka emingcwabeni. Iplate yahamba.
Yaphaka. Nathi ndabalasele ngayo. Okwesibini ukucinga ukwenza izinto decision making. Uyajonga. Ahlole le try yokuqala le wayikole Albert wajonga wabona nje i-defense iseflat akhombe ubuyile emva manifaka ibhola enqineni akhombe uzofika qala lapha phange ngoreko ye1 decision making nophaka loqala osifunayo lo Ferguson ubeke nathetha naye wathi kaloku ezinto zimbini ukuphaka kufanele kubhiwe kokuqala i-decision making usisiphiwe uphaka
okay
kuzukhumbule for duplica yonke into wayenza wayephaka kahle kakhulu
nanzi phaka kanje
nanzi ifana na Joga naxa yakwe scrum halves zase Europe jongo Risweb yaphaka uRisweb yaphaka khona mara yeah
no ibalekile nawe wena Chwako siyazi lonto leyo singayincokoli ibe ngathi into siyifihlayo ngoba naye umuntu ohlele ekhaya sifuna yazi ndobana xa sihlala utya umdlalo wombhoxo so uhlala utya ngendlela ezithile abanye bajonga abanye bajonga abanye abantu mna ndiye ndijonga umhlaba lo ungasetyenziswayo nendlela efly half ngoba ndiseliqaba mna Chwako ifly half nguyo xa iqela ibe nguyo zobahlohla kumhlaba ophucukileyo ibe iliqela ke ngoku elizawudlala umbhoxo la mbhoxo bebewukade belungiselela bevekini bezawudlala ngomgqibelo ngoba uzabe bahlohlile ku22 meter yabo ibe yihoka ibe yilock exhumayo ibhola ihambe kamnandi ibe yitry yilento endiyibone eNew Zealand izapha ekhaya ke ngokuchwako. We saw on Saturday the Springboks came up against the All Blacks from the start to that 52nd minute up until that 81st minute. How far are the Springboks realistically from the All Blacks?
There's still levels because there's one thing that we need to put into context. There was nothing riding on that game. The tournament was decided. So if the tournament wasn't decided, if the tournament was up for grabs and lost by that margin with the All Blacks having something to lose, maybe then you could say that the Boks have improved exponentially. Unfortunately, the game that counted was the one that we got a clouting in Albany. If the Boks lost by a point in Albany,
it would have been different.
Then we could say that the Boks are actually close to New Zealand because at the time they competed when it counted. So I think from a pride perspective, everyone can look and say, however, though, we need to use context is key in everything that we do. You need to understand that the All Blacks were from Argentina. They had a bruising encounter in Argentina. But because they had also something to prove the fact that they hadn't been to Cape Town in 9 years. It felt like it was a home game for the All Blacks. When the All Blacks scored a try, you could feel that there were cheers.
I couldn't tell who was playing who.
You see. So it felt more like a neutral game than a home game for either the Springboks or the All Blacks. So I think now if the Springboks can take heart from this performance, if they can produce that performance for 4 consecutive weekends in Europe, and then make sure that they build on that next year. And building on that next year means beating Australia home and away. And competing against All Blacks. Because I think the bigger picture here is that don't worry about competing against All Blacks now. You still have to meet them in the World Cup in 2019.
Oof. I didn't buy the paper on Sunday. I was busy with something. But I wanted to ask you about our friends from Bangladesh. They haven't been here for 9 years. And how did they fare against South Africa? Yes, we know the first test match they lost. They lost the second test match. Both test matches, poor decisions made by the captain, Mushfiqur, winning the toss on both occasions, choosing to put South Africa in first. What do you make of the whole series?
Look, it could have and should have been more competitive. I think the decision-making killed Bangladesh. I mean, look, if Bangladesh batted first, chances are the game would have gone into a 4th day because Bangladesh would have made a competitive total, batting first on that surface. But I think they looked at 5-7-3 for 4 declared. you need to make 3-7-4 to make South Africa bat again. So already scoreboard pressure. I think by the time, and I think also they fought back at the end of the first session, but Hashim Amla and Faf du Plessis took the game away from them. That was an excoriating 2 sessions that they faced at the hands of those 2 premier batsmen. And unfortunately, by the time South Africa declared, you could see they weren't up for the fight, and the capitulation was swift.
You've got a new CEO now to chase around looking for stories, don't you?
Well, you can't exactly say Tabang Moro is a new CEO, but we'll see. Having spoken, I did have an interview with Christian Zali that was published in this week's edition of Sunday Times. They did say that their main process now is to make sure that they sort out the T20 Global League. Only then, once that is sorted, they haven't set a time frame for finding a new CEO. Hopefully, they'll set a time frame, because remember that there was a time when Cricket South Africa weren't the model of governance. And to an extent, under the former CEO, Harun Logat, it did change. So I think they do want to present that front, that they still are a model of governance.
Aiden Markram scored 100. Dina Olga scored a double 100. Well, close to a double, 1 shy of a double 100. Hashim Amla scored some runs. Themba Bavuma shy of 100. But I'm pretty happy with the top order. The bowlers, look, we know due to injuries, they were forced changes to the side. Vian Mulder scoring some runs for the Lions as well, putting some pressure there by Parnell and Peshukwayo. But Chwaku, as a South African scribe, seasoned, Bafana was playing this weekend, the Boks were playing this weekend, the Proteas were playing this weekend. Was it a good weekend for South African sports?
I think with Bafana winning, yes, because that's the result that had the most significance. I mean, people may say that because Bafana, because of the general inconsistency since 1992. The thing is, I often give Bafana more leeway than any other national team, simply because for every tournament they participate in, they need to qualify. It's difficult to qualify for AFCON. It's difficult to qualify for the World Cup. You see?
Choco, let me leave it at that. And I want to leave it at that because the conversation with some people is always, yeah, the Proteas never have to play qualifiers. The Boks never have to play the qualifiers, but Bafana has to play qualifiers. Well, if you win, you will find yourself at World Cups. And Bafana won on Saturday. Now they have a chance of beating, you said, Senegal, home and away, and they could find themselves in Russia. But until then, thank you very much, Chwaku. Thank you very much. Continue to subscribe, like, share, comment, and I'll be sure to give myself and you time to respond to your comments. But until then, thanks, Chwaku.
Yeah.